Hello and welcome to Commerce 360, the program where we analyze business, decode markets, and empower enterprise. I am your host, Ijoma Ekwosi. Today, we address a powerful driver of economic empowerment, financial inclusion, and access to credit.
Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Millions of Nigerians operate outside the formal financial system. No bank accounts, no formal credit history, no access to structured loans. Yet these same individuals run small businesses, trade daily, and contribute significantly to the economy. The question is, how can an economy grow fully when so many people remain financially excluded? Today, we explore how access to banking services, credit facilities, and financial tools can transform lives and expand commerce. The experiences are telling, from documentation challenges to high interest rates to lack of collateral. Financial access remains uneven. To help us understand the deeper issues, I am joined by a financial inclusion expert. Joining us today is Mrs. Patience Ogunwasin Akade, a financial services professional and inclusion advocate with extensive experience in microfinance, digital banking, and SME lending. Madam, you're welcome to Commerce 360.
Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, to begin with, what is financial inclusion? How do we understand it better?
To my understanding, financial inclusions is basically opportunities for individuals and business owners to have access to reliable, useful, and how am I going to put it? Accessibility to financial services. To put it in a layman language is how to get useful information and ability to access credits.
Okay, we've seen improved financial inclusion services, but we still see people struggling, especially the rural area, the rural business owners struggling to get this financial inclusion. Why do so many people remain outside the formal banking sector despite the improvement in financial inclusion?
You know, the banking sector has given some slight disadvantages in getting loans. So most importantly, those who are able to access it are those who can walk in one-on-one, get the banking facilities, and get loans accessible to funds that can increase their businesses. But the rural areas are still struggling to have opportunities for this loan. Why? Because opportunities to have different branches of banking sectors are not available. So it's not easy for them to walk in to any bank facilities to get this loan. Some of them do not even know that some of these kind of banks exist. So to my understanding, that's really limiting their ways of trying to increase their business activities.
Okay, how does lack of access to credit loans now limit business growth?
Most business innovations and ideas can only be implemented with the enough funds. Sometimes the businesses are up, but they still need a more push to go higher. So the opportunities to increase in their small businesses to larger businesses will need funds. If the funds are not available, then it is very, very difficult to expand. Sometimes some want to increase their branches in different areas of the community. Some want to take it from that community to a different community to have opportunities for their innovations products to be assessed in different areas. That can only be done if more funds are incurred, more opportunities to open new branches are available to them. So to me, that's what I see as the hindrance to growing up in businesses. Because if they don't have the funds, they cannot increase in the number of their branches. New products that are supposed to bring to the market will not be available because how to produce them and what is needed to produce them is not accessible.
Okay, are traditional banks doing enough in this regard?
Our traditional banks have so many collaterals and a lot of informations that will have to meet requirements to get the bank loans for small-scale industries. Most of them have what it takes, but sometimes they don't have the required collateral that the traditional banks need. They are trying, but they have not really met up to the quota of what the small-scale rural industries need. So they have not been able to meet up, but to a level from what was to what is, they have improved, but they still need a step further to reach the basic rural areas that are busy bringing income into the nation by their small-scale businesses.
Okay, what is the role of the central bank in all of this? What part does the central bank play?
The central bank is the governing bodies of almost all traditional and other banks, and policies from the global bank and the national bank gives access to opportunities to give out loans, requirements on how to make that happen. So these policies can help the other small traditional banks give opportunities and accessibility to the small-scale industry.
Okay, I think that's where which you earlier in your comment, when you said the tax reform. I feel when the tax reforms, these tax reforms, I feel is part of what this tax reforms is likely to address.
Yes.
Okay, now let's talk about a little of the tax reforms. How do you think it's going to help in the SMEs, especially in its implementation, when implemented?
If implemented, the small-scale businesses will be protected. They will be given opportunities to trade as in the confines of the implementations of the tax reforms, and they will not be afraid to venture into bigger and better opportunities in their business plans. Also, if they are implemented, then most of the taxes that have been burdensome and cumbersome for them will be compressed and completely eradicated from some of their business transactions. So it's going to help them grow rapidly and faster with more insurance. Sometimes these reforms will create opportunities for their insured goods, so they can venture into it and know that this reform has insured my products, so there is no fear of a great loss that cannot be recovered. I'm sure that the reforms have given this aspect of it that says the insurance of goods is going to be implemented where life and property is protected. Now, most small-scale businesses, for example, those coming by sea, if they are insured with less insurance and income, they are able to say, okay, when it capsizes and it's not my fault, the government has given a reform that is going to take care of that insurance. So they go into it without fear. And then the opportunities of a business that just started today will not collapse tomorrow because of an advent of either a flood or an accident or something like that. So at least the reform will go a long way to help small-scale businesses spring up and increase the economy of the country.
Okay. Financial inclusion is more than opening bank accounts. It is about empowerment. It is about participation. It is about economic dignity. We will go on a break. When we return, we will explore digital lending platforms, credit scoring innovations, women and youth access to finance, and long-term strategies to deepen inclusion. Stay with us.
the station that inspires hope.
Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
This is CTV, the station that inspires hope.
Welcome back to Commerce 360. Today, we are discussing financial inclusion and access to credit, expanding economic opportunity. Let's focus on solutions. With me in the studio is Mrs. Is it Mrs. now, Doctor?
Mrs.
Okay. Mrs. Ngowasen Akade. You're welcome once again.
Thank you so much.
How can technology improve credit access for small businesses?
And thank you for asking that. You have even small children now owning phones. They have opportunities to create bank accounts with their NIN. So abilities to open bank accounts are no longer an issue for the small-scale businesses. You know, so any layman can easily take up a phone and create an account with their NIN and then have access to transfer and receiving of funds, which can aid their little businesses. So technology has played a big role in the change of the financial move of the small-scale industry. They are easily accessible to funds, the opportunities to get knowledge on these funds, opportunities to give their data requirements just by pressing of the phone. It really has opened a lot of doors. Some people just need to go online, and before you know it, they have created an account, and opportunities to get a loan have been there. You can see all the advertisements. They have opportunities to know that such I can have an access to this loan, I can have an access to this loan, even if some of them are just loan sharks. But there are proper channels that technology has opened ways for small-scale industries to have access to financial inclusions these days.
Yeah, well, I agree with you on there, but coming to the rural areas, I still feel that's a big challenge accessing using the phone.
Yeah, it's not everyone in the rural areas have access to, how am I going to put it, the WhatsApp kind of phones, Android phones, that they can make all this or access to incomes and create. They have these little small phones that can't do much. But if they are having such areas stationed in the villages, all they need is to walk in and create. That will create an opportunities for them. Technologies, if placed in the rural areas, for example, any microfinance banks has accessible to making advertisements, giving talk shows on how they can access a loan or access income to do business. You can go to the rural areas and then you have a meeting or a talk show awareness that can create opportunities for them to just come in, clear their doubts on issues, and then give access to creating accounts and making financial transactions. I think that will help because they themselves don't have access to technology, but if technology is taken into the rural areas in particular spots where there are creative opportunities, that can help a lot. They have done so much, but they still need to put in steps further into the far rural areas to create awareness in technology aspects of the financial income.
Okay, what is the role of alternative credit scoring systems?
When you talk about alternative scoring systems, this is basically to remove those requirements that will show someone's creditworthiness to be able to access a loan. And now, alternative scoring system is not just based on that creditworthiness. It is looking at the flow of income in a business owner, the way he pays his utility bills. It's been assessed by how much income comes and goes out of his account. So these criteria have been made to reduce the great scrutiny to which they can access loans. So this alternative scoring system will go a long way to create opportunities to access loans by these small-scale business owners, giving them opportunities to expand, giving them opportunities to even add to the economy of the nation better, since they can access these loans.
Okay, we are in the era of modern things are springing up every now and then. Okay, how can informal businesses transition into formal financial system?
Let's say most businesses are remaining at a standpoint. They are not moving forward because of these little financial inclusion hitches that are here and there. But with what we have discussed so far, if given these great opportunities and the reforms being implemented, they can now venture from one level to the next level with ease, and before you know it, they are now springing forth on every side, becoming larger businesses. If they have accessibility to credit and facilities with the awareness being given, they will have opportunities to expand faster, quicker, and more reliable. Most of them are no longer afraid of getting loans because why? They know that they can easily get them, and opportunities to pay back is also given freely, so they know, okay, I can go ahead. So with this, then transitioning from small-scale business to larger-scale business will be easier because they can easily jump from one level to another, being not afraid to move from 100 million credit loan to even $1 billion. Why? Because they know how to pay it is available.
Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Okay, in all of this, the government still has a great role to play in the growth of these SMEs, especially their policies. And how can government subsidize credit for these SMEs?
They don't do it really. They try, they say they are doing, but when it actually comes to doing, you meet a lot of stringent requirements to be able to access it. Now, if the requirements are reduced and with the implementations being clamped down to just some little requirements, access to these funds will be released to the small-scale industry faster and better. And I also know that the government has tried so much to bring up the small-scale industry in every way possible, but there's still room for improvement. You cannot dish out money, but if the government will bring up some programs that can give out grants to women and creative innovations from children. I know when we were growing, the government have representatives in schools where some renovations from children are being sponsored so that they create it more and the country gets an opportunity for that. So if the government will step into our secondary schools, tertiary institutions, have opportunities to see creativity from our children and those trying to bring in new innovations into their businesses, that will really help in boosting the economy of the country as well. So if the government create opportunities where loans can be accessible at a interest rate that is lower and payment plan that is easier, then it will help the business, the small-scale businesses better. The government has done a lot. We can also expect an improvement if opportunities are given. If the government will go out to say, okay, there is a business loan for this particular sector to grow, this particular agricultural sector to grow, tech sector to grow, there's a loan for that, there's a loan for that, there's a loan for that. You can see small-scale businesses queuing in to get these loans and to expand. So yes, government can give credit loans, but it can give the credit facilities in a way that they will be responsible for getting them and paying them back responsibly. There shall be measures put in place to monitor the payments where it does not affect their businesses.
Okay, as a woman in business, what everyday challenges do you go through and solutions?
Oh, it's a big aspect of the business in Nigeria.
Especially in accessing loan.
For example, when you come to business owners, they recognize the man more than the woman. Yes, there's this word, what a man can do, a woman can do even better. Yes, it's coming up. But if giving opportunities to women, you can say that we are better economizers. We try to weigh not just the goal, but the different aspects to achieving the goal as a woman. And so the women giving greater opportunities in business will really boost the economy in so many ways, because they will not only be talking about how the business is run, they will also be bringing their children up in entering into their businesses and creating job opportunities even before they graduate from school. Because a mother who is in the business of frying akara is already teaching her daughter how to fry the akara. So let's say awareness is easier communicated. And you also have opportunities for them to expand, because from what the mom knows, the daughter knows and takes it to another place where she goes and continues the business there. So if she's given opportunities to access loan and create these job opportunities, you open rooms for different branches of just her business. Another one does, and before you know it, you have a spring up in all over the countries, bringing income in every area to the nation. So I know the man goes out, it's not with the children, but then the mom has a better aspect to teach the child the business. So if she's given opportunities, the knowledge is passed easier.
Okay, before the program, you were advocating for a microfinance for women, solely for women. How can that help?
Thank you for reminding me about that. You know, I've looked at the different microfinance sectors. Yes, some NGOs try to do that, but the government has not really ventured into gender-sensitive kind of loan givings. I will advocate that if the government is giving a specific microfinance for women, because they are not only responsible for just businesses, they teach, they have their children, they have loved ones that they are coaching in the business. So you see there is an opportunity for the woman to go out, get a loan for where it's just for women. They have opportunities to bring their innovations to light, where they can have opportunities to sell their products. And then the child that is growing with them is learning from the business. And before you know it, opportunities for more branches are propping up here and there. So if gender sensitivity, especially for the women, is given opportunities to have just a women financial institution bank, where the only women can go and access loans, then they will have the opportunities to venture out and know that I need to do this and I know where to get it as a woman. Then they can do that. And once given the opportunities to have access to this loan, more innovations are coming up. Small-scale businesses owned by women are cropping up here and there, and then you see the children taking up the business even long after the mothers have gone. The girl child picks it up and continues the business. And the economy of the country can also grow, seeing that the woman is a very vital part of the nation in growing the economy.
Okay, that's a good one there. In the next decade, how do you see financial access evolving in Nigeria?
As you and I know, what was is no longer what is. How people got loans last time, it's easier now. The amount is larger. The accessibility is faster. So in the next decade, you'll be surprised that with these implementations we're talking about, we will have large-scale industries springing up from small-scale industry because of the accessibility of loans, technology know-how, greater government reforms and opportunities given to both the male, the female, the young generation to create new innovations. And I'm seeing Nigeria changing levels, seeing Nigeria grow economically in every aspect.
Okay. Here's what today makes clear. An inclusive financial system creates inclusive growth. When people can save safely, borrow responsibly, and invest wisely, commerce expands. Financial exclusion slows economy. Financial inclusion accelerates debt. As we conclude today's episode, remember this. Opportunity should not be reserved for the few. Access to finance is access to possibility. Join us next week on Commerce 360 for our season finale as we examine the broader economic outlook on the future of enterprise. Thank you, Mrs. for joining us on today's program.
Thank you so much, and I'm glad I came, and it's really eye-opening to be talking with you.
Thanks a lot. I am your host, Ijoma Ikochi. Goodbye and keep building.